Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. My name's Gina Empey, and I'm excited to be working with Babe Winkleman on his new Vector-Borne Disease Information Center. So this video is all about Lyme disease. I'm going to go down the line and tell about each co-infection and those types of things with separate videos, and I'm going to try to make this as easy to understand as possible. So here we go. Lyme disease has been around forever. People are just starting to realize it. The doctors, we have many naturopaths and doctors that are helping now to treat people. For the longest time, it's been one of those things that's almost like a hidden epidemic. And right now is the most important time to pay attention to yourself, your symptoms, anything that's going on with you or your kids, and be an advocate for yourself. We've lost a lot of Lyme docs in Minnesota and Wisconsin alone. Just different tragedies happening. We've had COVID, we've had so many things. So it's crucial for us to be able to have an idea of the symptoms that can be out there. And then also, it's good to know a few things about what to do if you think you had a bite and such. So right now, I'm going to share my story. I have to show this because this is the truth. I have went through all of it. Back in 2009, I was bit by a tick. I didn't know it was a tick. I thought it was a spider. It was in the middle of the night and it was a sharp pain in my side. It's funny because ticks have saliva that can numb your bite and then you don't even know you had a bite. But this particular tick, definitely I could feel it and I shaked it off and I just went back to sleep. 3 black labs in the house, having the different products on that keeps ticks off of them. Of course, the tick jumped off them and came to me. I didn't know that. 10 days later, a bullseye on my rib cage, the size of a grapefruit. Looked in the mirror and was in shock. And inside that bullseye, there was blisters. And it hurt. I thought, oh my gosh, I have no idea. I think this could be Lyme disease. So I started, first thing I did is made an appointment at the doctor. When I went to the doctor gave me maybe, I think, 2 weeks of doxycycline at the time, 100 milligrams a piece, 2 times a day. And of course, that allowed that bullseye to disappear. But that was the start of my learning. And my goal here is to make it to where if you have anything going on, I want to give you so much information that you won't have to go through everything that I did. Just backing up a little bit, I had a dog that had Lyme disease 10 years prior in Ham Lake. And when I went, and all of a sudden this dog was lethargic in front of me, I took him to the vet in the middle of the night, and that vet immediately gave him an IV antibiotic, pulled the tick off of him, told me what was going on. And do you know that dog lived to be 18? What's sad though is that my husband also started having deteriorating health at the very same time. That was 10 years prior to my bite. He was checked for cancer in his throat because of lymph node swelling. He was checked for carpal tunnel because his fingers and arms couldn't work right, and he had pain, and he was dealing with neurological issues. It was on and on. And for 10 years, not diagnosed and just given pain medication to basically put a Band-Aid on it. When I finally was bit, first off, I was thankful because it allowed me to know what was happening to my husband. But on top of that, I was able to go ahead and go on that journey so I can be here today to present this to you. My first thing that I did is I said, okay, I'm having sinuses. I have horrible sinus headaches. My eyes hurt. I can't look into the sun. I said at the doctor, what am I supposed to do? I am miserable. I feel like I have a sinus infection all the time. So they would prescribe me, 10 days to 2 weeks of antibiotics, and I would take them. And sometimes I would feel better and sometimes I didn't. And then all of a sudden I'd have something like all of a sudden my elbow would hurt really bad or just had ongoing migrating oddball pains in my body. So finally, I had a doctor give me the Lyme test. It was the ELISA. Now, this ELISA test is set up to where sometimes it'll catch it and sometimes it doesn't. And I didn't know that. And the ELISA test said it was negative. So I continued with these sinus headaches and this pain for weeks and kept taking rounds of antibiotics. And finally, I had a doctor after 3 ELISA tests saying negative. I found a doctor that gave me a Western blot test. Western blot, not always does it come positive, but for me, I was lucky it did. This doctor was so versed. He said, "You're having neurological issues, and I can tell by what's going on with you clinically that you're dealing with neurological Lyme. But I'm going to give you this test. And if it's negative, I'm still going to treat you." And I'm so proud of that man. And what he did is he put me on an IV antibiotic called Rocephin. And do you know, I got to take that for 1 week. $700 out of pocket copay last week in the year. So this was a huge expense when I already had a husband that was ill. And I was afraid, and I did it anyway. And do you know, I was having these Herxheimer responses from this IV antibiotic. My body, what that is it's when your body all of a sudden has bacteria that has died using the antibiotic, and then it's making neurotoxins in your body. That dead die-off is making you sicker. So it's so confusing. Why do I feel worse when I'm supposed to be getting better? But it was working. It was starting to do the job it needed to do. Well, back then, that was in 2010, back when they were trying to pass a bill where doctors could treat this as they see fit. There was a lot of controversy about whether or not they could treat with antibiotics for a long period of time, whether there was chronic Lyme. And at that time, I was sent by my regular doctor from that hospital in the middle of the winter to Duluth to the infectious disease. And my doctor, when I got there, what he said is, he said, "I know you have a bullseye and you had Lyme symptoms and things like that, but this is not Lyme disease." And I was heartbroken. I'm like, "Well, what is it then?" Kind of like, "What?" And he said, "What are you going to do when you leave here?" And I said, "I'm going to go back and get on my IV antibiotics." Do you know, when I went back to my doctor, he wouldn't give them to me. And there was something that happened there that I don't understand. So I panicked. I said, "I've got to go somewhere and find help." Meanwhile, I'm down at the Capitol, down in the cities, and they're having this big to do about Lyme disease. All these people with their green shirts on, and I was right there with them with my story. I had IV antibiotics, and they were shut down and such. And it was a wonderful day. And what it was is to try to just get it to where the doctors could go ahead and treat this stuff, even though there was so much controversy on whether or not it exists. And so all of us green shirted folks, some in wheelchairs, lots of people just crippled up and feeling like horrible, including myself, were down there. And we got up on the stand and we talked and told our stories. And we had one person from the infectious disease that got on the stand and he said, "Antibiotics are really bad for you. We can't just give out antibiotics like that." And we had the most amazing lady in the representatives stand up and she said, "Do you mean that my son's been on doxycycline for 3 years for acne and it's hurting him?" And it got silent. Why is it that people with Lyme cannot be treated with antibiotics, but yet this woman has a son that's been doing this for 3 years to help his acne? And I'm not going to go into this any further because I want to keep going forward with the main point is telling you about the symptoms of Lyme and what I did to get better. And yes, if you have questions, definitely reach out. I'm going to go down the list of the Lyme symptoms. And the thing is yes, deer ticks can transmit the Lyme disease. That's a spirochete. But also right now they're finding spirochetes within other insects. They haven't determined whether they can transmit it yet. But that's why we're calling this site the Vector-Borne Disease Information Center, because it's not just ticks anymore. We have to worry about other insects as well. So the symptoms that we have listed on the site are flu-like symptoms. It's common to have a red bullseye rash, but many times you don't. Many times it's on your head, it can be on your scalp, in your groin, somewhere where you can't see it. And like I say, the saliva, a lot of times these ticks can numb their saliva so that you never feel the bite. So never go according to whether you think you had a bite or not. What you go according to is your symptoms in a clinical diagnosis. Next thing is spiking fevers, sometimes chills, swollen lymph nodes. It can be developing arthritis. It can be that rheumatoid arthritis. Many times it's called juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. What is that? Where did it come from? These are symptoms that come along with Lyme disease, and irregular heartbeat. How many people I know at this point in time that's had AFib and it turned out to be they could get better by treating their Lyme disease? This is important. Facial palsy, Bell's palsy, that's a dead giveaway. I mean, it's not always the case, but if you have that, start researching big time. Shooting pains, numbness, tingling in your body, migrating pains all over. Once it's in your elbow and then your knee and your hip. And when it migrates, that's also very indicative of Lyme disease. That spirochete is so stealthy, it can hide within your body. It's called a biofilm. It can hide and come out once every 4 weeks to multiply. So you might notice if all of a sudden you're having a really rough time on the full moon, or let's say every 4 weeks, all of a sudden you notice that you're having some kind of major symptoms or feeling crummy, it could be that you have Lyme disease and it's coming out to multiply. My best way to know that I was dealing with something later on after being treated with many antibiotics is that I figured out in the morning when I take my temperature, if it's low, it tells me something's going on. Now, my doctor, of course, just says that's low and that's that's for you. No, I'm sorry. I didn't have a low temperature at the time before I got Lyme disease. Before that bite, my temperature was 98.6, just like everybody else. Now, is it possible for people to run lower? Sure. Are the doctors doing the best they can? The doctors and naturopaths are trying so hard, but this is so darn confusing. That's why these Lyme docs and people that have had this, that have studied more, are so important right now. We cherish every single one of these people. They have to charge a lot of money in order to even have a person come in because of all the politics around it. And so we have to cherish those people and also be good advocates and try to figure this out a little bit on our own. The temperature was 97, and I says, okay, I'm going to take my antibiotic. I took my doxycycline. All of a sudden, my temp went up to 99 or even higher, 100. And it's like, oh, something's working. I can tell that my body is feeling warmer and it feels like my immune system's kicking in. I must be killing something. This was just my own little thing that I figured out. So I'm going to share the antibiotics that I knocked my illness down with for Lyme first, just so that everybody can know that, yes, I did do all that for quite some time. I was on antibiotics for almost 3, 4 years. Did I need to be? I don't know. Back then, I didn't have the knowledge on herbs that I have now. So, yes, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a naturopath. I'm just giving you my experience. My doctor out of Wisconsin right away put me on clarithromycin. He put me on it for 3 months, and that was because my memory was lapsing. I was starting to have memory issues, and it helped. Then he says, okay, we're going to have to hit it from 2 angles because this stuff's so stealthy, it can hide and do what it does. So we're going to use 2 antibiotics. So pretty soon it was doxycycline and clarithromycin. 3 months. Then I had doxycycline and ceftin acetal. So it was on and on, lots of different change ups, different kinds of antibiotics, trying to hit every angle there was. Meanwhile, I had no idea with the blisters in the middle of that bullseye, that was a giveaway that I had other things going on, co-infections, Bartonella, Babesia. I had no idea. And that is for another video. But with Lyme, now at this present time, what I've found that helps me the most is andrographis. Andrographis is an herb, something to check with your naturopath or doctor on. Andrographis is wonderful for me. Cat's claw, excellent. There's also oh God, Chaga grows on birch trees up here in northern Minnesota. It's wonderful. You can plunk a piece off, break it up into littler pieces, and brew it in a crock pot. CHAGA. To buy it, it's a little bit expensive, but this stuff can kill, microbials. It can go after viral and bacterial. And so it's a gift. If you have a brand new bite and you don't know what bit you, especially it could be a spider, mosquito, whatever. If you have a bite and you drink some chaga, there's a huge chance you're going to kill some of that stuff in your bloodstream before it can go out and cause all the problems that I ended up with. So that's a gift as well. Chaga is amazing to have around just as a preventative. And this is my opinion again. Definitely check side effects with your doc. So I'm just going to go ahead and end this for now. I'm going to make another video. I want you to just be as versed on this as possible. I do have a YouTube channel, Stars Touch Reiki. I'm a Karuna Reiki Master, and I'm able to do intuitive healing, just to, you know, basically ask questions to see what people are dealing with and really try to help people narrow it down on what to treat first and second. This is my intuition that I'm using and nothing else. Like I said, no doctor, no naturopath. I'm just an intuitive person. And I've learned that there's ways for me to go ahead and ask questions that can be helpful to others. And I would love to help you. My website is Touched by a Star. It's on Google. And thank you for listening to A Healthy Summer